In the comments to my Warlock ranking video, a few of you asked me to do the same thing but for Pact Boons. Pact Boons are gained at level 3 and they get one upgrade at level 5. Got this deepened pact. And that's it. They're not the same as a subclass, as one or two people were asking, wondering. The subclasses generally have more abilities, but the Pact Boons, yeah, just give a couple of small features, though they can really affect how your Warlock is played. I will be looking at the level 3 feature, the upgrade, the Deepened Pact, and how it affects the multi-classing. Starting in 3rd place out of 3, got Pact of the Chain, which I gave a 4 out of 10 for the level 3 features. The level 5 feature, a 2 out of 10, and multi-classing potential 1 out of 10. In case you haven't guessed, I'm not particularly impressed with Pact of the Chain. So at level 3, we basically get one thing, Find Familiar, which as a spell is fine, it's okay. So we get the normal Find Familiar options, and then we also get the choice of an Imp or a Quasit. We have to bear in mind when we pick a pact, we do have an opportunity cost of what other pacts could I have chosen. Do you know what? This is kind of good at level 3 when we get it. But quite shockingly, the awful thing is that these summons never get any buffs in terms of survivability as we level up. So I've got this Conjured Imp, and he's got 10 hit points. The Quasit has 7. So I mean, yes, there are some resistances which help increase its survivability, but honestly, before the Act 1, they're going to start to be killed off in one hit. The opportunity cost is too high to pick this. It kind of feels like a massive waste to pick this pack. The main use, I would say, is that the Devil Familiars can turn invisible. So are good for scouting, are good for starting combat with the enemy surprised, but that's kind of it. The other thing is that we can get access to a Quasit from very early on in the game. It is possible as a Warlock, Sorcerer or Wizard to get permanent access to Shovel, Basket or Fork anyway. So why, I don't know, why would I pick this pact? Once we get to level 5, these Familiars can attack twice in a turn. One, let me see, we've got the extra attack there. But, I mean, that's alright. But that hardly matters when they die as soon as Lae'zel basically looks at them in a slightly aggressive manner. So once you're partly into Act 2, these Familiars don't do much for you in combat. The main use of combat will be that the enemies attack them and not one of the rest of your party members, but that's about it. That was 1 volley, 2 volleys, and it's gone. Alright, AoEs are the bane of your Familiars. So for multi-classing, outside of doing it because you think it's cool, fun, or fits an idea of a character, which I think are good ways to make characters, by the way, this is one of the worst choices you can make towards a multi-class character. So a single level in Wizard can get you the level 3 feature by picking Find Familiar and learning the Summon Quasit spell. There's just so little to gain by multi-classing with Pact of the Chain. So yeah, wholly unimpressed by Pact of the Chain, disappointed. The fact that our Familiars just don't get buffed is a massive, massive downside to this pact. So in 2nd place, Pact of the Tome. With the level 3 features, I gave a 6 out of 10. Level 5, a 7 out of 10, and multi-classing potential, a 2 out of 10. So at level 3, we get access to the following cantrips: Guidance, Vicious Mockery, and Thorn Whip. Guidance can also be gained by picking a level in Cleric or Druid, and a necklace found at the top of a rocky outcrop near the Druid's Grove. The problem with Vicious Mockery and Thorn Whip is that they kind of need to compete with Eldritch Blast. So I'm much more likely to use Eldritch Blast in this situation with 3 blasts, 3 rays here that will deal a significant amount of damage and knock them back. The problem with Vicious Mockery, especially in the late game like here, is sure I can cast Vicious Mockery on this guard, and he will have disadvantage but only for 1 attack. How many attacks does he have? I can't see his actual class, but I imagine it's 2 if not 3. So his usefulness in the late game I think goes down a lot. Thorn Whip will get its uses. And it's kind of nice if you do pick Thorn Whip and Repelling Blast, because then I've got the ability to either push enemies or pull them towards me with Thorn Whip. So yeah, it's nice to have extra cantrips, kind of extra versatility, extra choices to make in combat or outside of combat. But when there's other ways of getting guidance, I'm not too fussed about the other 2 cantrips. At level 5, Pact of the Tome Warlocks can cast Animate Dead, Haste, and Cool Lightning once per long rest. And now, these spells, do you know what? I'm quite happy with them. Haste is going to be useful if I cast on any of my characters. It's extra attacks, extra spells that can be cast, extra movement speed, extra armor class. It's all good. I like Haste. Cool Lightning is, I'd say, probably better in the earlier levels in terms of its damage because we can't upcast this. It's stuck at level 3. Of course, if you make enemies wet, it will be better. And Animate Dead is fine. We get an extra summon once per long rest. Happy to do that. Extra summons is always good. But I do find that with this Deepen Pact, the Animate Dead spell and Cool Lightning kind of potentially fall off a bit. Again, in Act 3 in particular, where the enemies are stronger, we're not going to get as much use out of them. So let's have a Cool Lightning, shall we? Now, as for multiclassing, I'm kind of struggling to think what class would really benefit from the level 3 feature of Pact of the Tome. Like, I'm not really going to be like, oh, I want to have Pact of the Tome in my multiclass. I'm really looking forward to it. Cantrips are good to have, but they're hardly build defining most of the time, especially for those 3 cantrips we get. The spells given at level 5 can only be cast once per long rest. Not exactly something reliable. Interestingly, most of the spells available from this pact are available for druids, especially Circle of the Land druids. So if these spells are that important, I would maybe just pick a Circle of the Land druid instead. The problem for multiclassing with this pact is that the pact, I think, really complements Warlocks well enough, but it won't really add enough to a multiclass to make it a top pick. And then in first place, I think this was always going to be the clear winner, Pact of the Blade. So level 3 feature 9 out of 10, the same for the level 5 features, and multiclassing potential 10 out of 10. I think this is just so much stronger than the other pact choices. So Pact of the Blade, you can summon a pact weapon or bind the one you are wielding, making it magical. Pact weapons use the wielder's spellcasting ability modifier instead of strength or dexterity, which is going to be charisma for a warlock. And secondly, if you really want to, you can summon a pact weapon. They are just fairly regular weapons. They don't have any special abilities or anything. I generally don't use these. There's not any real need. Usually I want to find a weapon I like the look of. In this case, I've got the Silver Sword of the Astral Plane, and then I am proficient with it. It provides proficiency, which is lovely. The other thing is that we can't be disarmed, which is kind of a two-way thing. It's not really that we can't be disarmed. We can't even throw this weapon, so this doesn't work with throwing builds, interestingly. But otherwise, you don't need to worry about having proficiency. Now, Githyanki already have proficiency with greatswords, so this wasn't the best choice, perhaps. But now I'm attacking using my charisma modifier, and that's amazing, because now whenever I build a warlock or multi-class with this, I only really have to worry about getting a high charisma. Obviously, we need constitution and dexterity. In fact, I've pumped up my dexterity up to 18 with this armor, although I haven't given myself any sort of way of increasing my armor class. Bit of a mistake. In terms of not being disarmed, it doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, you'll be glad that you can't be disarmed. Now, the level 5 feature, before I show this off in combat, back to Deepen Pact. Blade Pact holders gain an extra attack with their Pact weapon. And this is good. This means we can basically act like a martial. We can get 2 attacks in combat. My main piece of advice, which I accidentally didn't follow here, is you do find some way to get yourself a half decent armor class, because without particular feats of multiclassing, you're not going to have a particularly good armor class most of the time. Now, multiclassing, just mentioned that. 10 out of 10. And this partially depends on whether you play in honor mode or not. But either way, it's a great choice. Probably the best choice for multiclass. So the level 3 feature means you can make a Paladin Warlock multiclass and you focus entirely on charisma, which will make all of your attacks, spells and Paladin aura very strong. The level 5 feature is where the discrepancy comes in between honor mode and non-honor mode. So if you are in honor mode, the extra attack that you get from level 5 with the Pact of the Blade does not stack with extra attack you get with any of the martial classes. However, outside of honor mode, it does stack. So here, as I was just playing around, I've got a level multi-class level 6 warlock, level 6 monk. And my character can attack 3 times in combat. I'll show that in a second. This has been in the game since the very beginning. And my guess is that it was a bug that kind of turned into a feature that they didn't want to take away. Alright, so let's see this in action. My monk is currently invisible because I was an archfey, or am an archfey warlock. So we get 1 attack. 2 attacks, and because of the Pact of the Blade multiclass, 3 attacks. Plus I'm a monk, so I'm really cool, and I can now, I don't know, topple this fist. There we are. So overall, these were the total scores. Now, Pact of the Chain, I just really don't think is a good choice. The opportunity cost is way too high when I've got these other two choices here. Of course, it's still viable. So if you want to have your Warlock who can summon a familiar, devil familiar, go ahead, it will work. It's just not going to be as useful in the whole game, I would say. But being able to have your familiar go invisible, start combats with enemy surprises is going to be useful the whole time. Back to the tome, I'd say this is good if you want to build a pure Warlock with some extra spellcasting power and versatility. I just think, you know, getting these extra choices is really nice to have. Gives you extra things you can do inside and outside of combat. It's great. Back to the blade, so if you want a melee-based Warlock or some multi-class with Warlock, the classic being a Warlock Paladin, so you can smite and use Charisma for your attack rolls. This pact really changes the way you play your Warlock though. I'd say Pact the Chain and Tome, you'll probably leave your Warlock as more of a caster. Pact to the Blade, you're going to be getting involved, going into the center of combat. The lovely thing about Pact to the Blade is you just wait for a magical weapon you want to use and you just bind it. It's going to be good. So there you are. I think quite a short video. There's not much to say because there's only 2 features per pact. You let me know your thoughts on the pacts. Have I completely undersold Pact to the Chain or oversold Pact to the Blade? You let me know. Let me know your favorites and, more importantly, why. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the members of my channel and I'll catch you in the next one.